So I've been working on this website for a while, and I think I'm finally almost ready to show it to you. The website is like 99% the way there. There's just sort of like one small problem. The data is just a little bit too stale.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a new data set today in Golden Gate Park. Now, I kind of wanted the focus of the site to be like people that were doing commuting, so I could see those numbers. I kind of care about those numbers more than recreational, I guess. But we're supposed to kind of stay close to our house because of coronavirus, so this lets me get another data set that's more recent.
Oh, and one other quick thing. This is my friend Gordon. He's an illustrator, a bison expert, and he helped shoot this video.
I thought bison were extinct. What were the animals that went extinct because of something like a bison, the Great Plains?
And then I also want to look at how many bicyclists are doing face covering. So far in Golden Gate Park, I'm seeing like a lot of walkers with face masks, but I'm also seeing a lot of picnickers, not quite so much. All right, it is 12:04 p.m. Saturday, April 26th. The place that I've picked out is kind of nice because it's actually shooting somewhat uphill, so everybody's going a little bit slower, and should make it a little bit easier to check out like the details later on once I'm like doing screenshots.
And the lighting's better.
And the lighting's better. So yeah, here we are. The one thing that I feel like I did notice today is that there was 1,000 families and fitness people, which I think maybe skews the numbers to be less electric, but I don't really know until I look at it. So we'll see after we actually do the counts.
The data is just a little bit too stale. I know it's been a while. So the situation is basically throughout all of history, and all of history is only the last 100 years, bikes have always been not that popular as a means to commute. Let's start in 1900, and now let's go to 2020, worst year. This graph is what percent of people commute by bike. It's kind of always been down here. Like, it's maybe gone up in little blips, but it's always been super, super low. Right now, across the whole US, it's 1%. Like, it's almost 0%. The reason that it's always been only 1% of people commuting by bike is because there's like so many prerequisites in order to do so. You've got to be in decent shape. You've also got to be fine being like a little bit sweaty when you get to work. You've also got to be fine with riding next to cars that are like heavy and kill people all the time. Going back to the reason I'm doing this, I want the number of bike trips, or at least bike lane trips, to go up to a meaningful percentage. With small electric vehicles, I think there's a way to get there. As e-scooterists and e-bikers join non-motorized cyclists in the bike lanes, it'll make it easier to advocate for more and better bike lanes. Better bike lanes will mean more people that feel safe commuting outside of a car. At least that's my hope. The second thing that I wanted to talk about, and that I added to the newest data set in Golden Gate Park, was masking. There are like a few caveats to this data. The basics of the mask data broke down like this. 69% of people were not wearing a mask, and they did not have a mask on at all. The other two groups were people that had a mask on but had it pulled down. That made up about 15%. And then also about 15% was people had a mask and they had at least their mouth covered. I do have one additional chart on the website for masking that covers utilization by trip type that was a little bit surprising. I expected masks to be most commonly worn by people riding electric vehicles since they have a little bit less work to do, but at least for this data set, that wasn't the case. I noticed that there was a lot of bikes with more than one person on them. So I added that as sort of a new field on each of the trips that I record. I also went back to all the old trips and indexed them. And basically I came up with all this data to see how many people were actually riding on bikes. In Golden Gate Park, e-bikes average about 1.2 passengers per trip. This is about 20% higher than traditional bikes and e-scooters, which are almost always one passenger per trip. The lowest I've seen the data for e-bikes is in the Mission, where none of the e-bikes had an additional passenger. The highest I've seen this statistic was women e-bikers in the Panhandle. They averaged almost 1.4 passengers per trip. I think the best way to visualize this is in this moment off Masonic and Fell. We have basically two moms here riding identical e-bikes, each with two kids on the back. 1.4 passengers might not feel crazy high, but I think what's important to note here is that this is only 10% off from the average car trip, which has 1.5 passengers. A couple other anecdotes on this. I looked up all of my trips for Turn GSDs, which is the electric cargo bike that I have, and 100% of the bikes had an additional seat on the back. This could feel misleading because the Turn GSD is known as sort of the dream dad bike, but when I looked at all the Rad Power e-bike trips, it was basically the same, with 90% of the bikes having an additional seat on the back. I saw a lot of families and I saw a lot of sort of like exercise trips. So I thought that might have skewed the data to be a little bit different than what my other data sets look like. So I've actually added like a little feature to the website so that you can toggle between adding or removing those like small subsets of trips. If you don't modify any of the data, 88% of all trips are traditional bikes. E-bikes make up 10% of trips. Everything else adds up to just a couple percent. There was like one e-scooter here. There was also some kids on like push scooters. I don't even know if that should be in the data, but it's in there. So when I see like articles about like scooters like blowing up in popularity, I'm kind of confused why I don't see them in the data. This isn't really comparing like apples to apples, comparing Golden Gate Park to downtown or the Mission or the Panhandle. Additionally, this was on a Sunday. The other 3 data sets were all commuting hours. Okay, that's it. Pretty much all of the data that I've shared in this video and lots more is available on the website, bikelanestats.org. The other thing is, I don't know, go check it out. I'd love to know what you think about where I should record next, and then also if these numbers surprise you at all. So that's it. Check out the website. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.